Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we get to kind of take a break from the Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth stuff to come with another brand new release. This is a Haolonggood release, and we've got ourselves the 1/35th scale Saurolophus, and this is a very exciting one, a species that we've probably been waiting forever for. You can see the box art is pretty nice, a little dim as far as the image goes, but pretty nice. And then up here on the top, of course, pretty much same thing again, but a little bit different as far as like the way the words and everything look. But up here on the top, you basically have a nice little checklist of some of the other figures that are out from Haolonggood, which there are just so many at this point. But that's pretty much it. You never really find a whole lot going on with the boxes from Haolonggood, but they always look really quite nice. So let's pop these boxes open and check them out. So here are our Saurolophus figures, and there's the first version, and then we've also got this darker grayish version, which I must say is probably my favorite of the two. And there they are, standing together. As always, Haolonggood just does an incredible job. You know, I love articulated dinosaurs, but every once in a while it is nice to kind of get back to the more model-like, higher quality dinosaur models. When you spend so many days in a row just reviewing different articulated like Mattel Jurassic World figures, which I also love, it's always just like a nice breath of fresh air to kind of jump back into something a little bit different. So really excited to take a closer look at these guys. I think we'll start with the one that I believe would be my favorite, which is the grayish version. And you can see starting here in the head sculpt, it looks really nice. The skin detail looks fantastic. It looks very crisp, very realistic. We can see the mouth right there, as well as, of course, the beak. Some really nice brownish tones here in the beak. Nice detailing as well. We've got the nostrils right there. And then, of course, you lead up into the crest of our Saurolophus, that very trademark crest, which looks really good, especially when it comes to the gorgeous tones of color with the greens and blues and stuff that they've added. Definitely making that area pop in a really nice, flashy, but quite realistic way. We can see the nostrils as well. This figure does feature a dark wash, kind of. It's an interesting wash. It's like a brown wash rather than like a dark gray or a black or anything like that, but I really quite like it, actually. I think it adds some nice depth to the coloration and some nice realism to the model as a whole. When you come up here to the top of the head, you can see a striping effect pick up. You can also see some light brownish tones there kind of creeping within the grayish tones. Again, the grays really pick up as you move up into the back of the head. Basically, you have like a light tone here in the face, but then some grays that kind of run around the eye area and lead up, and they become the majority of the body color, at least as far as this one goes. But the eye is painted pretty nicely, again with a yellow and a nice black pupil. As you move back, you can see the Saurolophus does have its head turned slightly toward its right, so you do see a little bit of creasing and everything there when it comes to the skin in the neck. We also have this nice light tone pickup kind of following through here and then leading up and then leading through the body, kind of like a nice stripe following out through the body, and I think that looks really good as well. And one thing that always impresses me is just how smooth and natural the paintwork from Haolonggood always is. It looks so good and so realistic. It always looks like genuine body color, not just paint on a model. There's also a really light kind of subtle striping effect that you can see with a darker tone following along the back of the Saurolophus. You can see some small ridges pick up and lead up. They do increase in size a little bit before decreasing and then increasing and then decreasing and then increasing and decreasing again as you move along. We can also see leading down that we've got a very nice walking pose for the dinosaur. The leg sculpt looks really good. There is the elbow there on the back, really smooth transition from the grays to the lighter coloration there on the back of that leg. And then you lead down, you can see the foot sculpt looks quite nice. We can even see like some creasing in the wrist, as well as a nice black tone for the nails down there, which does look really good. Also has a bit of a shine. Same deal, of course, for the rear leg when it comes to the musculature. As you move back up into the stomach, you can see again that lighter tone, kind of like an orangish sort of a tone here in the lower part of the stomach. Really nice skin wrinkles and folds and stuff with the dinosaur walking along, both legs closer together on this side, kind of scrunching the skin up in the stomach. And you can see those skin wrinkles extend all the way up here in front of the thigh, of course, as that leg is taking a step. Very nicely shown off. Again, some variations to the grayish tones. It's like a bluish gray, which looks really nice. And you can can see that darker, very subtle striping moving along the back of the dinosaur. We can see the hip bone right there. You can also take note to some osteoderms popping up here and there through the course of the figure, but the scale detail continues to look really crisp. Moving down, there's some very nice skin detail throughout the leg. Again, all sorts of skin folds and stretching of the skin kind of leading up here into the joint of the knee, but also just generally some nice creases as you move down through the majority of the thigh, or like the center of the thigh. Leading down, we have the knee as well as the calf muscle. Again, really nice transitioning back to that lighter tone of color. We've also got the foot sculpt, which looks really good. We can even see some browns there kind of within the foot sculpt, but the toes look really nice. The nails as well, painted again with that black tone. And then as we lead up, we can see some more of that kind of like brownish wash that almost adds like a little bit of a speckling effect to the figure. We can see more of like the orangish tones following out, as well as that nice lighter kind of off-white tone. And then the grays and that darker tone, kind of like a dark gray, striping through as you lead out through the tail, which does lead out and kind of curves downward. We do end in a dark tip for the tail, but that striping effect looks really cool and plays off of the lighter tones very nicely. And of course, you can see some more of those ridges following along the back of the tail. Moving along the underside, you can really see that wash. Again, that kind of brownish wash. We can also see the cloaca there. More of the orangish tones following along the underside, as well as kind of like some off-white tones. Again, very smooth transitioning, and that dark wash kind of ties it all together pretty nicely. And then when you take a look at the opposing side, the dinosaur is now facing away from us as far as its head goes. We can take note to the ear right there in the back of the head, but again, the paintwork and sculpt work and everything looks great here in the face. We've got a little bit more creasing and everything in the neck as we lead back. The legs are spread further apart on this side. We can very clearly see that walking motion, especially when it comes to the toes picking up off of the ground here on the rear leg. And then again, the skin stretching off of the stomach, especially here with the rear leg, again, really stretching that skin and pulling it. And again, all sorts of creases and wrinkles and everything. The paintwork continues to look super smooth and natural the entire way through. We have a little bit more of that almost like a striping effect moving down through the thigh, down into the calf, and again, the foot sculpt looking really good. And then we lead out again through the tail. So that is an absolutely gorgeous Saurolophus. Again, even if we had a market flooded with this dinosaur, this would probably still be the best one out there. And then we have the brown version. Now, the brown version has, of course, the same sculpt. It does share the same sculpt, but very different coloration. Kind of the same patterning in a way, but the tones of color are very different. So you can see we do have a little bit of a lighter tone for the lower jaw, but as you move up, you can see that nice brownish tone pick up, as well as some black kind of spotting around the eye and then up toward the snout a little bit. We also have like almost like a purplish or a pinkish tone there around the nostrils, and then again a grayish tone for the beak as well. And then you've got some nice flashiness moving up through the crest. I also like that on both of these, when it comes to the crests, they've added in a nice kind of a satin shine, helping that area to really stand out and pop. But we have some nice like yellowish tones and purplish tones, and even almost like some bluish tones up there at the top, or maybe a really dark purple. The eye is again painted with a yellow, given a nice black pupil and a nice gloss coat. As you move back, you can take note to the brownish tones, as well as that lighter tone striping through the body, similarly to what we had seen on the other one. But obviously, again, the tones of color are quite different on this one. We have brownish tones where the other one had like that bluish gray, but this one also has a little bit more of an obvious kind of striping and, speckling and stuff throughout with the black tone. You can really take note to that striping, again, a lot better on this one moving along the back of the dinosaur. It does also feature a dark wash, just like we had seen on the other one, but this one has more of like a dark gray or a black sort of a wash, as opposed to the brown wash we saw on the first version. The brown does get darker as you move up into the spinal column area, definitely a different shade of brown, where we have more of like a yellowish brown down here on the side of the dinosaur. Again, we've got some like pinkish tones here moving along the underside, almost like a light orange, basically bordering on a pink, as well as again the off-whites and the dark wash all at play down there. We also transition as you move down the legs to a darker brown in the foot sculpt, and you can see how gorgeous that foot sculpt looks, as well as again the nails painted with a black. But you even have variation of browns as you move down through the thigh, again darker tones and lighter tones, as well as that kind of black speckling and stuff and spotting moving through. And then as you move out, you do have like that light orangish tone. You've also got some of the striping. It doesn't stand out or look quite as flashy as it did on the other one, because the tones are not nearly as dark as the other one. But what's cool about this one is as we transition out, you can see a really beautiful blue pickup. And again, that's almost like a Haolonggood favorite when it comes to adding in like a flashier color with like blues or oranges or something out at the end of the tail. But it does look really nice, works nicely for this figure. Again, you're going to see the same thing over here, but I do of course want to give you a nice visual here of the other side and how good it all looks. The paintwork is tied together so nicely with that dark wash. I always say that I love when Haolonggood adds those dark washes into their figures. I think it just amps up the realism so much, and you can very clearly see that here when it comes to this Saurolophus. The paintwork on this is absolutely incredible as always, but it looks pretty much the same, of course, on this side as it did on the first side. Of course, the same style coloration and everything overall, but incredible looking figure all around. Both of these really are. They definitely knocked both of them out of the park in a big way. As far as a size goes, now we'll take one out. For a length, you are looking at about 9 inches almost on the dot, or around 23 centimeters, and the highest point would be the back at just shy of 3 inches, or a little bit under 7.5 centimeters, or to the top of the crest at about 2.5 inches, or 6.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Saurolophus, and you can see that it's fairly similar in size to the Colovosaurus here. A little bit bigger, definitely better proportions and everything, but fairly similar in size to that figure. But of course, some of the best comparisons I could probably give you would be with other Haolonggood releases. So, first of all, we've got our Saurolophus next to the Haolonggood Telatolophus, and you can see again that they're kind of similar in size, with the Saurolophus being just slightly smaller. We've also got their incredible Megaraptor, which we can see is kind of similar in size, but obviously very different as far as its shape goes. Then we've got the Saurolophus next to the Haolonggood Dacentrurus, and again, just kind of giving you some variety as far as these comparisons go. As well as their Utah Ceratops next to the Saurolophus, again looking really quite nice next to each other. We've also got the Stegosaurus next to the Saurolophus, and as you can see, obviously, the Stegosaurus is a bit larger. There is also the Ouranosaurus, which is very clearly also of a similar size to the Saurolophus. The fairly recently released Concavenator, which obviously is a good bit smaller. And then last but certainly not least, we also have their newer Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is absolutely incredible next to their beautiful Saurolophus. So Haolonggood just continues to kill it. Honestly, they have got to be far and away one of my favorite companies that has ever existed, and has continuously provided us with some of the best prehistoric figures we have ever seen and probably will ever see. The sculpts of their dinosaurs are continuously incredible, and their paint apps are some of the best in the business, the best you'll see anywhere. They always look so realistic and lifelike, and the same can absolutely be said for both of these Saurolophus, giving us a gorgeous species of dinosaur that many of us have been wanting for a very long time, that for some reason more often than not seems to get ignored, and we've got two fantastic versions of it here. Again, the sculpt is great, really nice natural walking pose, insanely beautiful fine detail, all sorts of skin wrinkles and folds and gorgeous scales all throughout the course of both figures. You've also got two very nice paint schemes, very natural paint schemes as per usual. Again, two different color variants, allows you the opportunity to kind of have like a male and female. They've done a great job of giving them a kind of male and female look, but at the same time also giving them a nice flashiness in their crests, which is really cool. And I love the slight satin shine that they've given the crests to make them stand out even more. The paint apps, again, look really good and natural, very smooth and realistic transitions, as well as quite a bit of variation of color throughout, and of course the nice washes that help to kind of tie them all together. So without a doubt, a must-have if you ask me. If you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase these right now from Lana Time Shop. So make sure you check that link, definitely pick these up, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.